Patrick. So this was really a surprise victory by Javier Milei. What can we expect in terms of economic implications for Argentina?
Sherry, a stunning vote yesterday in Argentina with Javier Milei upending really the political class, and he was polled to finish third. He came out finishing first above the two established political parties, and that caused bonds to fall below 30 cents on the dollar this morning. As you mentioned, the official exchange rate was devalued about 18%, one of its biggest moves in several years. And in the real economy, we're seeing businesses hike prices 20% overnight to try to shield themselves from a huge jump in inflation, which will only, of course, fuel prices and create sort of a vicious cycle going forward. Another key aspect that investors and markets will be paying attention to is something we just published on the terminal, that Argentina will seek a larger IMF disbursement in August, according to a senior government official. That's something that has just come out, that the government is scheduled to receive $7.5 billion from the International Monetary Fund this month from an agreement that they already reached a couple of weeks ago. But the key now will be if Argentina can somehow rework that agreement and get more out of that disbursement now in August. They were hoping to get disbursements in August and November. Now they're hoping to have more money front-loaded, brought forward into August. But it remains to be seen if Argentina can redraw the lines of a program that has faced one setback after another.
Okay, well, the presidential election set down for October 22, which, funnily enough, is Javier Milei's 53rd birthday, so it'll be quite the present for him if he wins. And if he does win, how do we wrap our head around his possible economic policies? We better get familiar with them. What's he proposing?
Javier Milei's chief economic proposal is to dollarize the economy, or at least let Argentines choose between what they call a bi-monetary system, where the peso and the dollar are both a sort of official legal tender in the country, and people can choose. Now, of course, in a country where everyone saves in U.S. dollars, one would think that if there was sort of two currencies in circulation, the dollar would quickly become the dominating force. But it remains to be seen how he's going to do this. His economic team hasn't really been formed. And I think the real concern for markets in the near term is that he has vilified so much the current government, and they are so at odds with each other on complete ends of the political spectrum, that it's very difficult to see, especially as Javier Milei is competing against the incumbent candidate, the economy minister, Sergio Massa, how if Milei is the candidate or wins the election, how there would be some sort of smooth transition. It seems very difficult for those two teams to be coordinating policy in some sort of transition phase if Milei wins the presidency. And how he would dollarize the country, he hasn't provided those specifics yet, but he wants free market reforms. He wants to lift, a huge tax burden in Argentina. He wants to cut export taxes. So it's a very, it's sort of a wish list right now that sounds very difficult to achieve in a very interventionist, protectionist country like Argentina that is not used to free trade.
And that will really be what leads to market uncertainty until the October 2020 elections. And then perhaps we could see another round of voting in November, right, Patrick? But tell us a little bit about this candidate himself and the populism that seems to be running with his campaign, because he's an admirer of former President Trump. He has a dog named Milton Friedman. Tell us a little bit about what this actually means for the change in the political environment in Argentina.
Well, Milei's results last night in the election are a clear rejection of Argentina's established political class. You've had two parties for the better part of 2 decades fighting for power in Argentina, neither being able to show concrete economic results to stabilize inflation and let the country grow consistently, despite a huge vast resource of natural resources, huge lithium reserves, huge natural gas and oil reserves, and yet the country is jumping from one crisis to another. So Javier Milei is this very colorful character who's rejecting the political class and has really found a couple of key messages. Very much a drain the swamp message that's resonating with a lot of voters, many of whom are suffering from poverty. 40% of Argentines live in poverty. So there's clearly appetite for a massive change of direction in Argentina. And Milei, with his approach on dollarization, free market policies, and really a rhetoric style that is very much like Donald Trump in the United States, like Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, channeling and tuning into that anger that so many people have. But it's like you also mentioned, that Milei did win the race. He won by a couple of percentage points over the second place person, but we're likely in a three-way race that could head to a runoff between the top two candidates in November. So this uncertainty, this market volatility will extend for the next few months.